Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
Jake.
This is Flerick.
And this is Mac. And Ryan, how dare you? How dare you try and sneak that past everybody? You are the venerable Yokozuna, Ryan.
Well,
God, Mac is just the absolute best Sukebito.
he would be the best Sukebito. What?
Cheers.
You just have to. He would be the best Sukebito. You just have to really remember he will take everything literally, and you just have to kind of watch out for that.
Me?
Yeah. Well,
Flerick, I'm hurt.
Well,
It's like having Amelia Bedelia, but like louder and with sumo puns.
Yeah. All right. So, yes, this is our Nagoya Basho recap podcast. We are going to have a whole lot of Hakoho and Teru no Fuji talk, and then some other people apparently competed. I don't know that we necessarily
Who are those guys?
noticed. Yeah. So we will get to that. But first, we need to talk about our Patreon just real quick. We do have a Patreon. You can sign up at the $1 or $3 level. If you sign up at the $1 level, you are guaranteed a compliment once per basho from us on the podcast. If you sign up at the $3 level, we are bloodbound by oath to talk about any subject you would like us to talk about. So with that being said, we do have some compliments to get to. Flerick, why don't you kick us off? Oh, sorry, Jake had something to say.
Yeah, we discussed this a little bit, that we're getting close to 50 patrons, and I think we should set the goal here that if we hit 50, Flerick alone will sing a song. Do another one of those sumo song punishment type deals.
Yeah, well, that will definitely not happen.
I believe 75% approval is what's required to pass a motion in our meetings. So.
Oh shit!
Yay! I vote yay.
Yay as well.
Shouldn't have skipped that meeting there, Flerick.
Oh damn it!
No, we'll talk about that later. We'll get something more ironed out. Maybe set a goal for some punishment that we are all going to be taking part in. But Flerick, before that, why don't you kick us off with some compliments?
All right. Caroline, they should model a badass villain based off of you.
You know, guys, I was daydreaming about Octavian Martin the other day. That was the best part of my week.
Giuseppe, Flerick loves you.
Excuse me?
It is Yokozuna Ryan's compliment to give, Jake. You sit back right now.
Oh, I see. We highlighted in all sorts of colors that make it impossible to read anything. My bad.
It's the same colors every single time, Jake.
I don't remember. Why on earth would I bother wasting brain space memorizing what my color is when Ryan makes a sumo outline?
Yeah, there's also reading where the color is the text that's in a color. It has your name next to it, Jake.
Yeah.
For just backup in case you forget your color.
This is ridiculous. I'm quitting the podcast over this.
I have 75% approval. I say yay.
Abstain.
For what?
For you talk.
For voting you off the podcast. We had 50%, Jake. We had you and me kicking you out.
Yeah, so we only need one more, and then I'm out.
I said abstain.
Yeah, seems like you're stuck.
Damn it.
All right. So as I was about to say, Giuseppe Salico, Flerick loves you more than he loves Hankas.
I love Hankas.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. All right. Is the next one mine? Do
Yes.
I have 75% approval that the next one is mine?
It is the Jake purple, and it also says Jake written in English.
I see it now, but I'm going to stay on this hill. I'm going to die on this hill right here, no matter what. Rob Graham stiffens our cigari. Wink.
Wow.
You actually wrote out wink in this one? Okay.
Yeah.
That was
well done.
That was a good wink to describe. Okay, let's close this out. All right, King of Salt. Once this whole COVID thing's over, we would love to give you a sensual foot rub. And by we mean definitely mostly just Jake.
Yeah, if you didn't know, Jake's into foot stuff. All right, let's move on.
Yep.
A peek in the life of the Grand Sumo crew.
If we get 75% approval, that's going to be podcast lore.
like-
Fact.
I'm not disputing it, but I'm upset that you bring it up.
All right, we'll just bury that. We'll just start talking about the Basho. Nobody will remember, I'm sure. All right.
It's far too late for that.
Indeed.
Flair singing a song and Jake likes foot stuff. It's been established.
It is done.
All right. The winner of the Nagoya Basho is your Dai Yokozuna Hakuho, winning his 45th career Yusho, his 16th Zensho Yusho, meaning his 16th 15-0 record. Just, I don't know that many people saw this coming. I know we didn't. I think we all. On the preview, you had him out before the end of the Basho, Mac.
I did not. I said he'd win.
I feel like Ryan's the only one who listens to these after the fact, so I'm going to believe him.
Nah.
And our June Yusho winner, of course, was Ozeki Teruno Fuji, getting a 14-1 record. This is his 7th career June Yusho. This is his 5th straight Yusho or June Yusho. So he is on quite a run. We did have a couple of special prizes to hand out. The Gino Show Technique Prize goes to Maegashira 5 West Hoshoryu. This is his first career Gino Show Technique Prize and his first career special prize overall. And we also had a Kanto Show Fighting Spirit Prize that went to Maegashira 11 West Koto no Waka. Once again, this is his first career Fighting Spirit Prize and his first career special prize overall.
I noticed that you said we have some special prizes for us, like as if we were handing them out.
Well, we do that at the end of the episode.
Well,
Yes.
no, I appreciate that you said it that way. As you know, JSA West, we were part of the decision making, so of course, you know.
I did put out a tweet predicting what the special prizes would be, and I had both of these guys on my list, so I'm assuming they were checking my notes. They're like, "Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll make sure we include them."
All right, West agrees with this.
West
All right,
agrees.
Sign off on it.
Although I personally would have had a prize going to Ura, being back in the Makuuchi division for the first time in 4 years and getting 10 wins. I would have thrown a little bit of love his way. But apparently East did not agree with West's opinion on that. But East did agree that Kageyaki sucks and does not deserve any special prizes.
So it shall be.
Kaisei's butt also decided that.
Oh yeah. Oh.
But let's talk about the story of this Basho, and that are our two Rikishi that came into day 15 undefeated, Hakuho and Teruno Fuji. It was the 6th ever matchup of 14-0 Rikishi facing off for the Yusho on day 15. There were 3 in the 1960s. There was another in the 1980s, one between Hakuho and Haruma Fuji that Haruma Fuji ended up winning back in 2012, and this is the 6th one that we all witnessed earlier today. So I'm just curious, who was everybody cheering for when the fists hit the clay? Who were you guys cheering for? I know I was cheering for Teruno Fuji. It would have been the perfect ending to his storybook comeback, which is probably still going to have a happy ending, but not a perfect ending at this point.
I think, yeah, it was. I was definitely in the Teruno Fuji camp, not just because he was my champ for our prediction series, but like the Ryan, as a longtime pro wrestling fan, I'm sure you can relate. You want the top guy to go out on his back just to pass the rub to the new guy, I think would be the phrase, right?
Yeah.
More pro wrestling terminology. He would do the job, right? He would do the job for the new guy. And yeah, I think that would be the perfect storyline for me. But I think this is just fine too. It was incredibly dramatic, but for me, it wasn't a hugely strong preference for one guy versus the other guy.
What about you, Mac and Flerk?
It was interesting. Like you say, I was probably thinking Teruno Fuji, and like we were talking about this the day before. Like if someone like sat down, put a gun against her head, and said, "Hey, you have to pick who's going to win this match," I was leaning towards Teruno Fuji just by a little bit, just because how good he was looking. But no, apparently we're still in Hakuho's story of where it came down. But I will say, like as soon as the match started, when they had the epic stare down for a good amount of seconds before they put their fists down, I was like instantly changed my mind. It's like, oh no, Hakuho has this match.
And see, now I want Hakuho to retire. Retire with your 45th. Retire with a Zensho. Go out on top. perform your ceremony for the Olympics, end and call it good. He has nothing left to prove.
I mean, man hasn't had anything left to prove for probably a decade, but yeah.
Fair, but this is what he's wanted to do. He wanted to go out still retaining, the 15-0, a Zensho Yusho. Again, what more do you want?
Yeah.
I want him to lose. I really wanted something like this to happen where he would lose because it's like, I don't know. It reminds me of the Tokushoryu situation where, like, forever, for the rest of time, it's like, well, Tokushoryu won a Yusho, so what's the big deal? Like, it's just a Yusho, I guess. It almost like minimized what came after it. And my worry here is that if Hakuho retires undefeated like this, for the rest of time, they'll be like, yeah, well, Hakuho, he didn't beat Hakuho, so he's nothing. He's some scrub. So I don't know. I guess I want Hakuho to lose at least one match, if not Yusho, right? So that, that there's not that asterisk for the rest of all time that, certain people will minimize everyone who comes afterwards, no matter what they accomplish.
Yeah. To your point, Jake, I think if you are Hakuho, this is the perfect time to retire. Like, your knee is banged up. You came back and showed, like, hey, even when I'm at 75, 80%, if that, I could still beat everybody. Terano Fuji, your new hope of being Yokozuna. No, I tossed it to the side like I tossed aside 14 other Rikishi. You can't beat me. I thought his big yell of triumph at the end of the match, that we haven't seen that from Hakuho before, as far as I know. I mean, we haven't seen most of Hakuho's career, but that felt like something new from Hakuho. And there's just things he was doing this Basho that just felt like, F it. I know this is my last one. I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want. And that scream was kind of part of it. And so I think this would be the perfect time. If you're Hakuho, you want to leave as the guy that, like, yeah, nobody was ever able to dethrone Hakuho. This would be the perfect time if you're Hakuho to step away. But I do agree with you, Jake. I would prefer somebody dethrone Hakuho before they left.
It would make sense for him to retire after this, but he did just go 15-0. Like, he's still pretty good at sumo.
Yeah.
You can't say he can't maybe win a couple more Yushos. Like, was he at 45 right now?
45.
45th. Like 5 more, he gets to 5-0.
Oh, just 5 more.
It would take at minimum 2 years, because he's going every other Basho at this point. He hasn't completed 2 straight, and who knows how long.
Yeah, who knows? It's like
it's impossible to find out. Yeah,
maybe not the 5-0, but he can maybe get at least probably maybe another good Basho out there or something. Yeah, who knows?
Oh my God, 2017
was the last time he did 2 in a row.
Even like 15 matches twice in a row was
wow.
May and July of 2017. We didn't even start yet.
Yeah, we've never talked about 2 straight Hakuho Bashos in a row in this podcast history, and I feel like we've been doing this for 4 years. But
we're going on 4 years now.
So in the time that we have been commentating on Sumo, every single time that he's completed a tournament, he has won it, except for one time he got second place.
Jeez.
And none of those are consecutive.
Wow.
I mean, he's the best. Say what you want about some of his sumo the last couple of days. He is the greatest of all time, performance-wise. If you don't like him and you don't want to call him the greatest of all time, you have your arguments. When you results-based, greatest of all time.
Oh, for sure. When you say what you will, is now the time to talk about that stuff, or should we keep going through the results?
I think that was the perfect segue. Yokozuna Ryan was the perfect segue into it. Let's do it.
So what are your guys' thoughts? I think as a whole, we're probably more pro Hakuho. I think the 4 of us, we are American sports fans. And so this whole concept of this is how you should do the sport. Like, and if you do it differently, it's like dishonorable or something like that. That's a completely foreign concept to us, as is the sport. And so I completely understand the people that like Hakoho sumo the last 2 days, especially against Shodai, that was not Yokozuna's sumo. That was a disgrace to the sport. He's supposed to live up to this concept of hinkaku, which is like grace and dignity that you're supposed to carry as a Yokozuna. I completely get if that turns you off of Hakoho. And I saw on Twitter a lot of people that were just like, yeah, retire, buddy. And I saw somebody, I think it was at Sumo Followers, just like, yeah, I turned it off after he won. I didn't want to watch his victory speech or anything like that. Just especially the Shodai match really bothered some people. But for us who just like, hey, find any way to win. I know we're all big fans of Hakoho, and Hakoho has more tricks in his bag of tricks. Like he has like 3 or 4 bag of tricks when everybody else is just hauling around one that's like half filled.
Yeah, I think for me, like with that disclaimer out of the way that, you know, we're American sports fans, you know, it's not a sport that we grow up with culturally, all that. Yeah, I get it. That being said, get the hell over yourself.
Can you deny that he put on a fantastic show? I mean, doing it though, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, nobody's denying the results, but like when it comes to like, is it dignified or is it you know, is it a disgrace or whatever? Like, I mean, maybe if you can beat him, you can talk about that a little bit more. But like, you know, when he's still delivering the results well within the rules of everything he's supposed to do by the rules, I mean, he just beat everybody. So, like, I just think it's silly to argue, well, you didn't win the right way. That to me, that just seems super. It just seems salty and you know, I don't know. Disgruntled with the guy that you wanted to win not winning kind of a thing, you know?
Adding to that, how did we not Toby Zaru's match? Like, I know looking back at that, it's like, oh my God, he's just toying with him. But again, he started it that way. I mean, he chose to do everything that he did in that match with Toby Zaru. He was just toying with him, just playing with him, and completely making a fool out of Toby Zaru. I think it started all the way back then, where Hakoho was just like, no, don't even try.
Yeah, he definitely has some personality with some of his matches. I think that's one thing why we really enjoy it, is because you can definitely kind of get some personality out of the decisions that he goes with. Like you say with the Toby Zaru, like he chose to like stand all the way back up, like kind of say, "Hey, come at me. I'm the Yokozuna." You can see on his on day 15 where they had like the stare down for like a good like 10 or so seconds of right before the Tachi. And it's the variety is nice. Like I like seeing kind of some different ways to approach the match, and it's just, I don't know, I thoroughly just enjoy to see it. It's kind of funny when you were talking about there's the right way to win the match. You know, this is how you should do it. It just reminds me a lot of in StarCraft, where at least in the English speaking scene, there's like a great battle between like people who play like a very macro strategy based of where this is the right way to play. You know, you should try to always play in a way that gets you ahead, or rather than trying to do a coin flip strategy of where like, you know, it might work or might not work. And there's like huge divide between those two people. Like say, this is dishonorable cheese player. This is awful. And people have won championships that way, but it's kind of the same thing. I've always been on the camp of just, you know, if you win the match, like granted, if you try to do coin flips, you know, it's going to catch up to you eventually. But the creativity you just see from that is just so great to see. And
you're a Zerg player,
I really appreciate it.
You're a Zergling, aren't you?
Yeah, cheese players are actually just scum of the earth. They should.
I knew it.
They should always try to play macro like an armable person. 15-minute, no rush. A great big game hunter. Let's go.
So to your point of like talking about the right way to win, there after his match with Shodai on day 14, there was a quote from somebody, probably the most qualified person to talk about the right or wrong way to win sumo as a Yokozuna, Hakaku, chairman of JSA East. And he is a former Yokozuna himself, and he said after that match, a Yokozuna with that many Yusho under his belt shouldn't be doing a thing like that.
A Yokozuna with that many Yusho under his belt, there's only a sample size of one, so I think that is exactly what he's...
Like, do you have 45 Yusho under your belt, sir?
Hako's like, I just got bored after a while, you know? I have to.
Switch things up. More like, God, my knee really sucks. I can't do a regular Tachi-ai. But
Yeah,
watch
so
me win anyways.
Yeah, I'm gonna win anyway, so here we go.
Yeah, to describe it more, just for people, that was the day where he started all the way back against the Tawara. He was all the way up against the Shikansen. It's essentially the exact same thing Toby Zaru tried to do against him. However, he was just backed up all the way.
You mentioned his knee, but like to me, that just reeks of Hakuho. Like he can do anything, so he might as well have a little fun with it, and he might as well play mind games. And because Shodai was very psyched out, like very obviously, right? Would you guys agree?
Absolutely.
With that? Like Hakuho doing. Another pro wrestling reference here, Ryan. Let me correct me if I'm wrong, but I the way that I remember the story is in WCW, it was illegal to go top rope. It was against the rules. So like when somebody did it, when they snuck it by the ref, it made it that much more special, right?
I think there was something.
You're reaching back now, man. WCW.
I'm pretty sure it was WCW, but it was like illegal to go top rope. That's ridiculous. Top rope moves are always exciting. But by making it illegal and not the convention, you know, it made it that much more cool when they did it, or that much more dastardly when someone you didn't like did it. And I kind of get that same vibe from Hakuho, like when he does stuff that's out of the ordinary, because the ordinary is so well enforced and so adhered to. It's that much more exciting and interesting when he does something out of the ordinary, and it completely throws people off their game. So I don't know.
We were joking. I was joking that like all night, Camp Terunofuji was like staying up all night, just kind of trying to figure out why did he do this? What's going on? Is he going to do it tomorrow? And so like they just kind of throw off all their planning, which they probably just kind of like, oh, he just didn't want to do it. But like I like to kind of think that it was just kind of throwing off everyone's planning because of that.
Or staying up all night trying to analyze it was the goal.
Yeah,
so now
exactly.
is like a night of sleep short and has no idea what's coming.
Yeah, his Sukibitos for like a whiteboard going, what's going on? What does it mean?
It's like that final scene in I won't spoil it. Never mind. A TV show. Never mind. Go on. It's a new enough show. I don't want to spoil anything by comparing it to it. Whatever.
That's fair. So there is a point. Maybe Hakuho was just trying to play some mind games in the final couple of days. I do know some people on Twitter were saying it is because of the knee injury. It just doesn't allow him to do like a full proper Tachi-ai. He doesn't have the power to get what he needs in the Tachi-ai. I know he's typically going to be going for a belt grip, and he's been doing like the Harite slap at the start of the Tachi-ai for the past few years because kind of injuries, I think, have kind of forced him to change his style, and just Tachi-ai doesn't work for him as well.
From what I've heard, like he's always kind of had a little bit of the slap of like the little elbow into the person's face and stuff like that.
Speaking of little elbows, we had a lot more than a little elbow in the match with Teruno Fuji. So I will say the one thing that I definitely did not like from Hakuho, I'm fine with the elbow, the Kachiage elbow. It was stiff, it was brutal, but I did not like at the very beginning of that match the hand in Teruno Fuji's face. It was so close to an eye poke. I didn't like how Hakuho just stuck his hand out first and then went for the elbow. That could have ended up as a eye poke, and I did not like the hand extension for Hakuho at the very beginning of that match. Everything after I thought was fine. The Kachiage elbow just absolutely rocked Teruno Fuji, them turning it into a bitch slap fight for a couple of seconds there, which I think that worked perfectly for Hakuho to get Teruno Fuji off his game, make Teruno Fuji angry, and fight the way Hakuho wanted him to fight, so Hakuho could get an advantage on Teruno Fuji
off of his belt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want Hakuho to do a specific thing when the Yusho is on the line, you need to make it illegal, or else you need to like I said before, get over yourself. Like he's going to do it.
I wonder what the rules.
He's proven for like 20 years now. If he's allowed to do it to win, why would he not do it? Like, you know, he's not. It's similar to us. He's not steeped in the tradition. Like, you know, he's not fully on board there. He sees results, right? And that's kind of what we see. Like, you know, as our heathen, uneducated foreigner opinion here, we see results, and that's what he sees. And if he can stay within the rules to do it, it's on the other guy to be prepared for it, you know? like Kota Shogaku when he used to get henked constantly. It's like, well, Kota Shogaku wasn't prepared for it because that's just who he is and that's his fault. I don't get why that conversation has been flipped on Hakuho. Like now it's his fault for doing the things within the rules he can do to get that win.
Yeah. So I think, no surprise, we're going to spoil the end of the podcast. This is our match of the Basho, Teruno Fuji versus
100%.
Hakuho. I mean, this was a match that we were looking forward to probably from day 3 or 4. We see it like, okay, Hakuho's winning. He's in this. Teruno Fuji's winning. He's in this. How far can they both push it? And as we're just building closer and closer to 2 guys 14-0 facing off with the added caveat that if Teruno Fuji wins this, he'll be Yokozuna. Not that he won't be Yokozuna after this Basho anyways, but just Zensho Yusho beating Hakuho, 2 straight Yusho as Ozeki, it would be absolutely locked up. And right now it's probably like 80 to 90% locked up would be my guess. But after watching the match, Mac, did it live up to the hype of over a week that we knew this match was going to happen and knew that this match was going to decide the Yusho?
Well, Yokozuna, Ryan, I have to say absolutely, especially leading into the match itself, all the way from all them doing their entrance ceremony, the throwing of the salt, the stare downs. I mean, you could, granted, we weren't there, but you could just feel the tension. I mean, just like these two are just locked in this mental battle. The crowd's getting into it. They just kept staring at each other every time they'd go down for their bows, every time they'd go down and do their fists. It was just amazing, just electricity flying back and forth. And then to start off with that feint slap, go into this massive slap fight, throwing each other all over the ring, absolutely worth the hype.
What about you guys? Did the match live up to the hype for you?
Oh yeah, it's like if we sat down, kind of said, okay, what would be like the most like hype and just possible scenario and like just a great match that could happen, like this would probably this would be it. Just like you have like all the stakes going into it is what you kind of hope for, and just like also match that also like how many times have you gone to like day 15 for a U show and like it's over and like it's just a complete one-sided like domination. This was just it went back and forth like multiple times, like just some counters like of where like like I've like as soon as Teruno Fuji had the belt, I was like, oh no, it's over,
done,
bye Hako. But it just it just went, but it just went back and forth so many times. It was just fantastic. I had that awesome stare down in the beginning of where it's just like Hakuho just like, I said, I'm not getting down first. You're the Ozeki. Like, you're the rank below me. Go ahead and get down. Teruno Fuji's like, I'm going to take you down. So yes, I don't care. You can have the advantage. You can dictate when it starts. Let's go for it. It was such a great match. I loved it.
Yeah, I in particular, I'm glad that, yes, the slap fight part of it was awesome and was fun to watch. But I am glad that it ended on the belt because that's where both of those guys make their hay. And I'm glad that they went toe to toe at each other's strength, and that there was no denying that, there was a fluke. There was no, or I said that wrong. There was no way to claim that there was a fluke.
Hakuho just fluked himself into 45 U shows.
Yes, he grabbed the guy by the belt and by a fluke did his technique to put the other guy on the ground. You know what I mean?
How did I do that?
There's no way to pretend that this was a fluke. There's no way to pretend that there's any doubt that the better wrestler won this particular U show. And yeah, I'm glad. Like I said, I'm glad it was on the belt for at least the finish there. That was very satisfying.
Yeah, when I was watching this live, I saw they both kind of had each other's belt after the bitch slap fest, and then Hakuho tried to throw Teruno Fuji, and Teruno Fuji defended the throw. He had that, but then in that defense, Hakuho was able to grab Teruno Fuji's arm and was able to wrench his arm in I believe it was it a Kotenage win for Hakuho at the end there? Because it was an arm throw. Yeah,
it was a Kotenage.
It was a Kotenage for Hakuho there, and he really wrenched the arm of Teruno Fuji. I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
It looked like Teruno Fuji was kind of favoring that arm after the match, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it did devolve into the sumo that we'd like to see, which is kind of what happens with all of the Hakuho matches this Basho. It starts weird and like all slappy, and then eventually Hakuho will get your belt, and then you see the mostly the level of Hakoho Sumo that you kind of expected based on his previous 44 Yusho. But there was a little bit of a difference with how he was getting to the belt this Basho, which some people took a lot of exception with.
Yeah, the elbow to the face. I would say of all, like a lot of his elbow starts, that was probably one of the more like really like hard hitting ones.
Brutal.
Right to his face. So I can see why people that's kind of stuck out in their head.
Yeah. I still wouldn't put past Hakoho retiring after this Basho, but if he does not retire and if he is somehow able to fight Inaki, cannot wait for the rematch, or just any time a rematch between these two guys. I hope they can both be at the top of their game to fight one more time. That would be fantastic.
With a Teruno Fuji win?
I mean, if Teruno Fuji is already Yokozuna, I'd kind of have to be in the moment to see how I feel, because I like both of these guys, and so I don't know that I necessarily like one more than the other. So it'd kind of dictate what I think the best story would be at that moment for who I'd want to win.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like narratively, like you would want to see Teruno Fuji get the win before Hako bows out.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Yeah, if I knew it was their last match, I'd want to see Teruno Fuji win.
Yeah, but also this is still apparently we're all still living Hakuho's story. So, like narratively, just him winning is exactly to the book. We're staying on outline still so far.
Yeah, we've been living in Hakuho's story unbeknownst to ourselves for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
He's definitely, like, we make the joke about whoever the anime protagonist is at the time, but the last, like, 3-4 years of Hakuho's career here, definitely, like, if this was the end, would make an excellent final season, for the Hakuho anime show.
Hakuho is no protagonist. Hakuho is
the anime.
All for one.
You think he's all for one?
To me,
he's all for one. He's Frieza. He is Madara Uchiha or whatever, however you pronounce his name. He is the big bad at the end that just keeps powering up along with you.
I think that the this Basho pulling out, if it was because of age and injury, pulling out all of the tricks that he's put together over 20 years here to get one last one over like the next rising big bad guy. I don't know. I feel like that would make perfect sense to me.
Yeah, and I think this one did mean a lot more to Hakoho, as we saw with that yell of triumph at the end. Whether he knew it's his last one or not, I think he did say in his victory speech afterwards that he's sitting at 899 wins, just as a Yokozuna.
Jeez.
And he wants to get to 900. So at least in that speech, it doesn't sound like he's retiring. But I don't believe a word that comes out of Hakoho's mouth.
I'm just imagining.
Go ahead, Mac.
No, I'm just imagining a doctor sitting at the back of the ring going, "Oh dear God, no, please, no, Hakuho."
Pretty sure that was his doctor before the tournament started.
The doctor who promised he would put enough tape on him to get him to day one, and is that how the phrasing was?
Yeah.
No, you fool.
If only Endo had done better, I could totally see Hakuho coming back to just beat the shit out of Endo one more time on day one, and then say like, 900.
Yes, done.
One more KO of that poor son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So we've talked fairly exhaustively about Hakoho. Does anybody have any last thoughts about Hakoho for this Basho, about his future moving forward, or are we good to move on to focus a little bit more on Teruno Fuji for a little bit? All right, so let's talk about Teruno Fuji. I mean, we've already talked about him quite a bit already. This is, despite getting just a Jun Yusho, this is his best performance ever by record. 14-1 record. His previous best had been 13-2. So this was the best we have seen from Teruno Fuji, despite it coming in an ultimately I'm not going to say a losing effort, but a non-Yusho winning effort. But he did not get the Yusho, which we know. I don't know the last time a Yokozuna was promoted coming off a Jun Yusho. I know it's happened. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I just don't know the last time that it has happened. So, Jake, I'll start with you. Do you think coming off of a Jun Yusho, should Teruno Fuji be promoted to Yokozuna after this Basho?
Yep.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
No, I think he should. I think that 14-1, where the loss is Hakuho, absolutely meets the criteria of equivalent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially, and that wouldn't necessarily be the same if he hadn't won the previous two. Maybe you could whine about how it was 12 and 3s, like whatever. But he was still the best guy there, and being the best guy is kind of the qualification for winning the U show, being the top guy. I absolutely think that we should not use Hakuho as the standard. It's been 4 years since we had a Yokozuna promotion, which is about the average anyways, even during Hakuho's reign. And yeah, part of it is definitely the fact that I want it to happen. I want there to be a next big bad guy with Hakuho out, assuming Hakuho is out,
Yeah. Right.
But either way, I think that it should happen, and I want it to happen. And it's hard to tell where one of those ends and the next one begins,
Yeah. I will point out we are recording this episode just like 5 hours after the match happened. So we're not going to hear anything official on Teruno Fuji's promotion, I think, until Tuesday, our time. I think it's Wednesday in Japan where they talk about like the Ozeki and Yokozuna promotions. We might hear rumors and stuff. And the popular sentiment is that Teruno Fuji has done enough to get the Yokozuna rank. But at this point, we do not know. I did do a little bit of research, and it looks like the last time a Yokozuna was promoted coming off of just a Junyu show was Ono Kuni in 1987, coming off a 13-2 Junyu show. And he actually was the third in a string of 3 Rikshi that were promoted after Junyu shows. And It looks like prior to that one, it was about close to 50-50 on being promoted after a U show or a Junyu show. So it's more of a recent trend that you're promoted off of a U show, but Junyu shows in the past have been more than acceptable for promotion to Yokozuna.
Yeah, Kakuryu and Kisano Sato both were promoted off of one U show. Granted, it was being promoted off the U show as opposed to the previous Junyu show. But Teruno Fuji's one. Let's see. Yeah, so he's won the last 2. I don't think the one a year ago really matters at this point. But like he's won the last 2, and purely by the fact that he wasn't Ozeki in the first of those 2. That's the only reason he's not Yokozuna now. And I mean, he I don't know. I don't think there's any way that you can stretch it to say that he's not deserving, but that's different from saying that I think the YDC will actually promote him. That all of like the stuffiest opinions that we see on Twitter are nothing compared to the stuffiest of the YDC, right?
Luckily, it's not the YDC who does it. It's the JSA.
It's the JSA, though.
But the YDC can grumble all they want.
Yeah, they do listen to the YDC's recommendations. I am excited to hear what the YDC has to say about Hakuho, though.
Well, I mean, like officially it's the JSA, right? But
yeah,
de facto, I think the YDC is kind of who decides that. I think.
All right. Any more thoughts on Teruno Fuji this Basho? I think we discussed him quite a bit when we were kind of talking about Hakuho. I don't have anything more to say, but I don't want to move on unless if you guys had something else.
Enough said.
Yeah,
I had a quick one here.
Yeah.
I need to shut the hell up about his knees. He's okay. He's fine. There's a lot of tape on him. He's fine.
Yeah. The tape has gotten really good lately.
He got in contact with Ikiyoi. He's like, dude, help a brother out. Like, here you go.
Yeah. The one thing I want to say is like when like a couple days ago, I thought like Teruno Fuji was the slight favorite going into the match. That's because he looked really, really good this whole entire Basho. Just a great performance. And if you look at his like Sumo DB page, like he's just had a great year. So he's so deserving. I'm super happy. Well, hopefully he does get the nod to Yokozuna, and I'm in the camp that it's probably going to happen. And so I think that's just amazing, and I'm really happy that happened.
Greatest sports comeback story potential?
Yeah. And it's like part of his story is like he is the person who, like he got injured. He got the flu, diabetes, like the gout. Maybe not the gout. It's
his knees, the flu, and diabetes, I think, all hit him in one shot.
Yeah, he lost the power of the bottom, as the badly translated article that we once read.
He got hit by a car. He had his head amputated. He got scurvy.
Yeah, scurvy. Yeah, like he's just like, he was someone who could easily have quit. Like the precedent said he should have quit. Like, no one else from Ozeki's dropped down below Juryo before. And he just, he just said like, no, I'm not done. Like my story is not complete. And so he stuck it out. He came back and like, it's just been tearing up. It's just, I am just really happy to see this for him. It's been a great performance.
Yeah, and when you say best comeback story, I think that this trumps almost anything else. Like, one of the other recent ones that comes to mind was it the Patriots and the Falcons, like 28-3 in the fourth quarter or something like that. But this particular comeback does not depend on other people. This particular comeback is
one man,
individual sport, and his results depend on himself, and not necessarily like somebody else crumbling would be like one match. Whereas he has proven over years now that he is back and that he is in top form and is, deserving of this.
Yeah. Teruno Fuji has basically speedrun sumo since he got down to the second lowest division. And then in 5 basho, he made it up to Sekitori status. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 10 basho after making it back to Sekitori status, he could be up to Yokozuna, which...
Insane.
Obviously, he had plenty of experience before this, but if you just kind of look at this chunk of time as just his singular career, I mean, just my God.
Wow.
Yeah, he kind of proved as soon as he got back to Makuuchi, he says, I'm the best Rikishi on the spots, okay? Yeah, I'm going to win the Yisho, and he did. It's just, a fantastic feat.
And then came Hakoho.
He's earned Ozeki the hard way
twice. Yeah.
Yeah, he earned Ozeki the hard way twice, even faster the second time. Like his rise to Ozeki the first time was meteoric, but this one is just hilarious.
There better be a special on him. That's all I have to say. There better be news. If he gets the Yokozuna nod, we better be seeing some sports specials on him.
I don't know. We didn't get a big budget Kisuno Sato Hollywood movie, so I wouldn't get your hopes up too high.
Well, Kisuno Sato didn't fall far enough.
I'd say these are like the top 2 actual storylines that we have witnessed as sumo fans for sure.
Yeah. I wish like ESPN has a great like sports documentary series called 30 for 30. I wish that they would cover Teruno Fuji's fall and then rise back up, and that would just be an amazing story to dive deep into, but obviously don't think that's ever going to happen.
Listen to the JSA West.
Yeah, make it happen. So let's talk about another Ozeki that competed this basho. We're not going to talk about Takakeisho. He pulled out, unfortunately. We'll talk more about him on the preview for the Aki basho. We do have Shodai, and I guess congratulations on not being Kadoban.
Yeah,
you did it.
He proved he really cemented stopped Takayasu's Ozeki climb though. Yeah, like you said, like no, this is the story again. Give it another try.
So Fleric, I think I'm starting to turn more your way. I know you claim to be violently neutral about
fiercely neutral,
but I am not. I'm starting to turn anti-Shodai, and I think I know why Goeido was my biggest nemesis. Apparently, I just hate Ozeki that can't get 10 wins on a regular basis.
So most of them.
I mean, Takakeisho and Asanoyama were doing their jobs. When injury isn't involved, if you can't get 10 wins as an Ozeki, just I don't know. What are you doing?
I think you, Ryan. This might be the thing I needed, because while you hated Goeido, I absolutely adored him simply because you hate him so much.
So Flair's turning slight positive now.
Yes,
that
and
Ryan's
now Flair's like, aha.
We are away from fiercely, violently neutral. I am slightly favorable towards Shodai. Shodai.
What I just realized about myself, and this is terrible. So I'm also starting to sour on Mitake Yumi because he's not taking the next jump to Ozeki. I hate people that have reached their full potential, but they just don't have it in them to go further.
I knew that was coming.
Probably no fault of their own.
I knew that was coming, Yokozuna Ryan. I was like, tell me, how does Mitake Yumi not end up on your crap list?
I mean, what does that say about me? Like, these guys are probably trying their best. They're just not good enough, and I hate them because they're good to a certain point, but I just don't like them because they can't take that next leap due to mostly no fault of their own.
Yeah, I mean, Mitake Yumi, Goeido, Shodai, these are like top 1% all time. In this sport.
But why aren't they top 0.5%? Come on.
Excuse me.
If you're not Yoko's, like, for me, if you can't be the best, what's the point? The sole exception being Hokuto Fuji. Obviously, Hokuto Fuji is biding his time.
Oh,
Hokuto
sure.
Fuji has reached his top potential by being an upper Maegashira, and for some reason, Ryan has decided, nope.
Everybody else,
you are my exception.
Yokozuna, I do not care about you. In fact, if you get close to it but you can't get it, I actively dislike you.
Even more.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, what's wrong with me? I should see a therapist. That's probably something to dive into there.
So, what do you guys think about the fact that we could go? The fact that Shodai staved off Kadoban puts a hold on this for like a minute. But we could have like no Ozeki by the end of the year.
Oh my God, we could.
Or Soul Ozeki Shodai.
Oh,
Even better.
Because if Takakeisho, I mean, that neck injury could keep him out for a while, or if he does try to come back, it could seriously hamper his performance. I mean, he's a guy that drives right into you head and neck first. So that you can easily see a losing record from Takakeisho next time and dropping down out of the Ozeki ranks again.
Yeah, he changes his style. He always starts all the way back. On the Tachiai from here forth. Oh, please don't let that happen.
Shodai, the only Ozeki.
I kind of want him to do the fat kid from Hook move, and just like fully embrace that he's a bowling ball. I mean, I know you can't touch the ground.
Roll him down
obviously.
a ramp.
Yeah, roll him down a ramp into people. Start from the very back. No.
Thud ball.
But yeah, so we've got 4 Ozeki right now. Although technically Asanoyama is going to get bumped down, and probably Terunofuji is going to get bumped up.
So now we're down to 2.
Now we're down to 2. Takakeisho is Kadoban. If that injury is bad, then he's going to lose Ozeki for the 8th time.
Second, but
yeah.
And then Shodai's Shodai. So that could, I don't have faith in him. I wouldn't be shocked if he stayed Ozeki middling for a while, but it would also not shock me if he dropped down quite a bit. Who's next? Honestly, I think the only person on an actual Ozeki run, unless like Mitake Yumi or Meisei or Takanosho like completely blow the next 2 Basho out of the water, I think Ichi Nojo is the closest to Ozeki right now.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. I would say nobody is on an active Ozeki run. Just unless they go like 14-1 Yusho in one of the next couple of Basho where they're like, okay, 10-5 at M2, and then you did like 12 wins and 14 wins. All right, we'll give you Ozeki, Ichi Nojo. But yeah, I was actually just about to ask, like, we're definitely losing some Ozeki here. Asanoyama is not going to be back at that rank for like 4 years. Terunofuji, if he's promoted, can't go back to that rank. So who would be the next guys? And I know he had a tough Basho, but I still think Wakataka Kage has some of that potential. We'll see if Meisei can build off of this experience. I absolutely adore Hoshoryu. And then obviously Hokuto Fuji.
Oh, come on. Not even Takanojo, Yokozuna Ryan. Takanosho has the potential.
Once again, he got the Sekiwake. He didn't do anything more. He reached his potential. Therefore, I hate him.
Yeah. I do love Wakataka Kage and a little bit of Meisei. I think part of that's because like Jake was like hyping him up, like just enjoying his style. But they are smaller Rikishi, and they're not like specialized enough like Takakeisho to really make me believe that they're gonna make the the leap to Ozeki personally. But like you just kind of like glossed over Hoshoryu. Hoshoryu is looking really, really solid.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would not be surprised. Well, obviously I would like to see like him do that well, like in the Joy. I think maybe he just barely is outside of it, or maybe he just
he
was
fought
halfway.
He
It
fought
was M5.
2 Sanyaku Rikshi. I think it was Mitake Yumi and Shodai, and I believe he beat them both.
No, he lost to Mitake Yumi.
He lost to Mitake
Oh, did he
Yumi.
lose? I was
But
thinking of
he's-
Wakataka Kage today that beat.
But regardless, Hoshoryu is definitely going to be I
M2.
don't know. We have M2. You think?
Yeah.
Not any higher
Yeah.
than that. Oh, I suppose we got a few 8 and 7s.
There's
Whatever.
some 8 and 7s up
We'll
there.
talk about the Bansuke later. But yeah, I think
My
Hoshoryu,
machine.
Ichi Nojo could potentially be a Sekiwake. You think, Ryan?
No, there's
like
going to be
Komasubi.
no new Sanyaku members. So Asanoyama is going to take Takayasu's Sekiwake slot. So you have your 2 Sekiwakes, Asanoyama, Mitake Yumi. Takayasu drops down to take Wakataka Kage's Komosubi slot, and then Meisei will move over to the east side of Komosubi. 8 and 7 isn't going to do enough to open up a new Sekiwake slot, and we have seen 10 and 5 from M2 in the recent past is not enough to open up a new Komosubi slot. So
I guess I've forgotten, like, we've had a couple times where an Ozeki would drop down and create a 3rd Sekiwake slot, but it's still the default for them to fill an open one if there's an open one, right?
yeah, there would be 3 if Takayasu had beaten Shodai on day 15.
Gotcha. If both Sekiwake deserve to maintain their rank, then they would drop him down and make
Yeah,
a third.
or if a Komosubi had like 11 or 12 wins.
Okay. Okay. Well, regardless, though, I think Ichi Nojo, this could very well. I would say probably not for Hoshoryu because of his rank, but Ichi Nojo, this could be the first of his 3, and that's the only person I can say that for certain.
Yeah, like we said, if he does something spectacular in one of the next 2 Basho, then they might reach back and count this one. But
Yeah,
for
it's
all
not gonna be in
intents and
Sanyaku.
purposes,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, the next one he'll be at Maegashira 1. So yeah, it's even rougher on him. So
Yeah, I mean, he gets two more, like with 12 or 13 wins. You know, I'm sure it's on the table. But regardless, he's the closest, and he's not very close.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I could see Ichi Nojo like now if Shodai made an Ozeki run, could Ichi Nojo make an Ozeki run? Absolutely. I think he's definitely one of the candidates to throw in there, if not possibly the top candidate for next Ozeki. So I don't know. We will see. We're not close. To Jake's point, the next Ozeki might be Takakeisho.
Yeah. Dropping down and then
Coming back up.
getting the 10-win shortcut or something like that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think we're more likely to. I think it is likely the Yokozuna will outnumber the Ozeki at some point in 2021. I think that's
Wow.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's a weird situation that we have never really been in as a podcast, I guess, is what I mean. Like we haven't really had to analyze it where there's like nobody there.
Yeah. Junior Sanyaku ranks Sekiwake and Komosubi. I mean, we had 3 records that were 8 and 7 or 7 and 8. And then we had Wakataka Kage kind of feeling the effects of being a Shin Komosubi, his first time in the Komosubi ranks. So he happens a lot to these guys. They have a bad record. I fully expect Wakataka Kage to make it back. Anybody have anything to say about any of these guys? I mean, none of them really moved. Well, of course, Jake has some Takayasu thoughts, but none of them really moved the meter of excitement on this Basho, I would say.
Takayasu in the ring went 7 and 6, the gentleman's Kachikoshi. So I think he deserves credit for that, I think.
Yeah. Right, like Wakataka Kage's 4-0, the gentleman's Zensho Yusho, before he had to pull out.
When he got injured a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah,
so,
no, this was mostly just Hakoho and Terunofuji show.
Yeah, pretty much they were the hype.
Yeah.
I guess the last thing I would have to say on these guys is we're kind of getting a generational turnover, like we've been mentioning for years, where we got guys like Takakeisho, Asanoyama, Mitake Yumi, like this is like the next top group, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Meisei and Wakataka Kage, Hoshoryu, we have like even the next generation kind of sorting itself out at this point. It feels like
The next generation.
and I would
Right.
throw Kiribayama in there.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll see what Koto Nowaka did. We haven't we only mentioned him in the Fighting Spirit Press, but he was 12-3 this basho, and it was a good looking 12-3 too. And I only say good looking because I remember Toku Shoryu's 14-1, and that was not a good looking 14-1. You can't win with like 5 or 6 straight Tsukio Toshis and call that good looking sumo.
He still won. He still won.
He won, but it doesn't look the best. Koto Nowaka's sumo was all good, forward-moving sumo.
Didn't we just get over talking about like
a Yokozuna should, Jake? Yeah. But yeah, we definitely kind of see the next crop, I think, which is exciting.
And real quick on that topic, we finally have Oho showing a good result down in Juryo. He's another guy that started at the same time as Hoshoryu, and we kind of anticipated him being a top guy eventually. Mm-hmm. So maybe he's putting it together too. But yeah, I'd group him in on that double next generation kind of group.
Yeah, for people that haven't been following us for a while and haven't been paying attention to Oho. Oho is the former Naya. You may have heard us refer to him as that. He changed his name once he made it up to Juryo. He is the grandson of the Yokozuna Taiho, who held the record for most Yusho before Hakoho overtook him when Hakoho won, I believe it's 36. I think Taiho had 35 Yusho.
Wasn't Chiyano Fuji in between there?
I think Chiyano Fuji ended up with 32, and I thought Taiho had 35. I may be misremembering.
They are number
numbers.
2 and number 3. I can't remember the specifics either, but yeah, they're 2 and 3.
Yeah. Oho, a lot of hype surrounding him as he is the grandson of one of the all-time greatest Rikishi. So he had a 10-5 down at Juryo this time, so he might be finally putting it together, and we might see him up in Makuuchi soon. Anybody else that we haven't really hit on that you guys want to talk about? Oh, we talked about hitting on. We got to be talking about Ura. Am I right?
Hey.
And 5. Heck yeah.
Our little pink boy. He came back. He a little shaky in the first week, and if he did not have a hair pull loss against Kaisei a few days ago, he would have, I think, just won every day in week 2. Yeah, he would have won every match from day 9 on, but he did have that hair loss or hair pull loss.
Yeah, that hair loss.
Hair loss. Oh God, no.
No, we're not talking about Hokuto Fuji right now.
Yeah, I also noticed Chiyo Kuni. That's a little thinning for Chiyo Kuni as well.
We're going into the Takara Fuji and who's the Uncle Sumo who retired last year?
Aminishiki?
Aminishiki.
Yeah. We're getting into that territory, I think.
Yeah. Hokuto Fuji's starting to get a little bald spot where I think he's hitting his head against stuff too often or something.
Yeah, no, Ura was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, as always, he is a blast to watch, like his actual exciting in the ring antics. But yeah, it's doubly impressive to see it actually pay off, and that was a lot of fun. But I'm definitely worried about his legs.
Yeah, totally.
You're changing the worry from of legs from Teruno Fuji to Ura. I like this.
Yes, I'm transferring my worry from one guy who clearly I don't need to worry about.
The people that we know have like the worst knees in sumo just started the Basho 14-0, and one of them won the tournament, and the other was the runner-up. Having bad knees is excellent for your sumo. So I think the rocket is pointing straight up for Ura.
Clearly, the meta is to injure your knees, get over it, and then learn from that. Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
That's the current meta in sumo.
Quick correction on the Yusho count for Taiho and Chiyo Fuji. Taiho had 32, Chiyo Fuji 31.
Less than 45. Get out. Get out, scrubs.
Yeah. Scrubs.
Exactly.
Like Ryan
I hate
said,
you didn't live up to your full potential.
You couldn't be the greatest of all time. Get out of this house.
Yep.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about Ura is like he's just so flexible. How many times has he been pushed up against the Tawara, and like he just bends his back, takes that last pull, and somehow stays in like the ring, and then he just recovers from that position.
And then his knees snap.
Yeah, and
I'm
then
just waiting for it again.
Please no. But no, it's just amazing. Like he just comes across as a very flexible, like able to like withstand anything. Like at least with that pushing, like it's really hard to push off the edge from the beginning. And I've just seen that so many times. So it's interesting to see him keep winning from that position. I'll be curious if he can keep doing that.
Ichi Yamamoto started real hot, pretty
Yeah.
impressive. Then nearly blew it.
Yes.
Yeah, he went 7-2, and then lost his next 5.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for beating Chionoo on the final day, yeah, he would have been back down to Juryo. So, I mean, good for him for not completely blowing it, but not good for him for coming just razor close to blowing the whole thing here. we thought he was a lock for a special prize on our midway.
Yeah.
And that was the last day that he won for a week.
I can't remember if I said this before. Did I say I think Kiribaiyama is kind of in that next young guy group? Okay, yeah. So it's Kiribaiyama, 9-6. He finally kind of looked good again. He's had a couple of rough basho when he's been like Maegashira 3 or 4. He'll be back up in that range again, so we'll see if he can improve that a little bit. But he's a younger fella. He is 25 years old. 25 is still fairly young for sumo. I think.
Younger than us.
Yeah.
He's just a baby.
Yeah.
We're already sumo seniors here, so like,
Yes.
which feels weird.
We're over the hill.
But
Like if
Kiribayama-
any one of us won a Yusho, I'd hate it because we're too old and we're not going to do anything.
exactly, yes, we're at the age where a Yusho for us feels like a Tamawashi. Like, what's the point? Kind of Yusho. So yeah, exactly. To minimize Ryan's prediction series win here, he's over the hill. Like, what's the point? Why bother with Yokozuna Ryan? Like, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do with this?
His name is Yokozuna Ryan right now.
I am on a true Yokozuna run. 3 out of 4 this year.
Well, you have to. Well, slight caveat there, Yokozuna Ryan. Yokozuna Fleric hit that first. So
He did get 3 in a row. That's true.
Yes.
But we're talking about the latest and greatest, which is
well, okay.
Fleric is old news.
Oh,
He's older than I am.
also true.
I'm the young gun. I'm the young gun on this podcast. I'm the youngest out of all of us.
It's just the baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
What were we talking about?
I don't know.
Ishiura did pretty well. That was
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
9-6.
pleasant surprise.
That was nice to see.
I see Jake has a note about Tochi Noshin. Like the first week, people were like, "Oh yeah, he's retiring. He's gonna fall down to Juryo, and then he's gonna retire." And then that magic Henka, he had that Henka win to get his first win. He still ended up 7-8, but he definitely looked improved after that Henka. So I think we all know what Tochi Noshin needs to do.
Chiyoshima. Channel
Either
your inner
become
Chiyoshima.
or just do the Henka on day 1, and then he'll be good.
Yes.
There you He got his classic Tsuridashi lift out on the final day. That yeah, I mean, Tochi Noshin didn't lose. He just ran out of matches. He was just getting better, and it was really everybody else that was faltering. If it was a 30-day basho, I mean, hey, maybe.
Done.
Watch out, Hakoho and Terano Fuji. Tochi Noshin was coming for you.
I gotta put an asterisk on that one though, because the lift out was done against Koto Eiko.
Yeah, well,
I mean, like,
yeah.
One of us could probably lift.
He
out
was
Koto
truly
Eiko.
Carissa Spasha.
Yeah, 2
One of us-
13 for Koto Eiko at his
Yeah.
career high rank, which he will not be getting to that rank in quite a while. And he shouldn't have gotten to that rank in the first place because he was a Maegashira 12 with a 9-6 record. Just extreme Bansuke circumstances led to that. So
Yeah.
poor Koto Eiko just fed to the wolves.
Yeah, he lost his last 12 matches.
Yeah, that's not good.
Oh, but yeah, like I was saying though, even one of us over the hill guys could potentially lift out Koto Eiko.
Yeah.
One of us ancient sumo dinosaurs. So it was nice to see Tochi Noshin do it, but it's different than if he had done something like that to somebody his own size.
Yeah. And
Still
I do want to shout out Chio Noo's Uchadi win over Yogiryu on day 11. Always hype for an Uchadi win. So
Yeah.
just got to call those out. And one last thing, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. Got in a bit of a conversation on Twitter because of Aoyama's Dame Oshi on day 13 when he was fighting against Chiyo no Kuni. Just kind of want your guys' overall thoughts on Dame Oshi, and then if you thought Aoyama's was kind of different than what you'd typically expect. So Dame Oshi is basically when you give an extra shove to your opponent. You're beating them, and you just shove them off the dohyo to kind of ensure that you beat them. What happened with Aoyama, he beat Chiyo no Kuni. Chiyo no Kuni was just already had stopped outside of the dohyo, and then Aoyama just gave him a shove outside of the ring. And I had said, like, Teruno Fuji, some people have been getting on Teruno Fuji because he's been doing these Damayoshi quite a bit, but his are very different than what Aoyama's did. His are in like the flow of the match. It does kind of seem more like, I'm just making absolute certain there's no ballerina stuff you can do at the Tawara to beat me. I'm getting you out of here. Whereas Aoyama clearly had won the match, took a second to pause and think about it, and then shoved Chiyonokuni out. So just kind of wanted your guys' overall thoughts on if you approve of Damayoshi, don't think there's a place for them in the sport, and if I was right to think that Aoyama is a dick and Teruno Fuji is A-OK in my book, despite having severe biases the opposite direction for each of them.
Go ahead, Mac.
My thought on this, Yokozuna Ryan, is if it's in the flow of the match, similar to what Teruno Fuji was doing, if it just happens to come about naturally, I mean, you're just caught up in the moment, okay, Damayoshi are okay, I'm all right. What Aoyama did was not in the flow of the match. That was clearly after the match. Dick move, man. Dick move.
Yeah.
I do think it's... Oh, I'm sorry. We're doing a terrible job of, like, introducing each other.
Finger.
Flair,
Hello.
go ahead.
That's fine. I would say, like, I definitely am the camp of just, if something, like, if it's purposeful, that's, you can hurt people that way, you should not do that. It's not good. I'm not entirely convinced it was, I guess, on purpose with the way you do it. Maybe it kind of really looked like it, but, like when you're in the match, like stuff moves slower, faster. It's kind of tough to, like, I don't know. I don't really haven't really seen that from the Aoyama's character, so I'm not entirely convinced it's purposeful. But if it was purposeful, it's not a good look. You should not do it.
Yeah, I think it. I'm rewatching it a couple times here. It's pretty bad. I think when you say flow of the match, what I guess my opinion on that would be, if there is a danger of the other person coming back, like, you don't want to give up too soon.
We've seen plenty of times somebody do a spin at the Tawara and pull out a match from the jaws of defeat.
I think any amount of continuing to wrestle when you know the match is over is unacceptable, but there's absolutely varying levels of unacceptable. Like, I can totally understand Teruno Fuji did not want a single bit of risk involved. He wanted to be absolutely certain. And a lot of the time that involved, continuing until the very, very last second that the match was continuing. He just wanted to be absolutely certain. Not the case for Aoyama here. I think we texted quite a bit about this one the day that it happened, but it's not 100% on Aoyama, but I'd say it's like 98% on him, because Chiyonokuni slapped the piss out of him. Like,
yes,
perfectly within the rules. Absolutely illegal technique, and Chiyonokuni was doing what he had to do to win, but he was being kind of a dick about it. You just can't. You can't use that as an excuse to be an even much larger dick later when the match is already over. I think that's kind of the consensus here, right?
Yeah, that was some of the arguments that I saw when I was having these conversations on Twitter. It's like, Chiyonokuni was putting his hands in his face, so he deserved it. And as a mature adult, my opinion was
that's a bold,
bigger man.
That's a bold thing to say.
Bold claim,
He's a bigger
Ryan.
Man. I have a kid.
Podcast.
I'm a dad. The only dad on the podcast. What do you know?
I was born several months ahead of you, therefore I am the authority.
I was about to say.
But no, that argument just doesn't hold water to me. And I'm saying this as a guy who's not in the heat of a match that just got my face clawed at by another guy who would, honestly, if that were me, I'd probably be pissed too, and I might shove him off. But I'm not in that situation, so I can safely say with 100% certainty that you just got to be the bigger man and walk away. And
in Aoyama's case, the much bigger man.
The much bigger man with Chiyonokuni.
Don't let the anger overcome you. Sumo is a sport about dignity and grace. Just look at the top guy in the sport, Hakoho, and he is the perfect example.
Yeah.
Actually, that's why I thought Flick was going to be all about Damayoshi, because Hakoho will do the same thing where the match is, we haven't seen it for a little bit, but where the match is absolutely over and then Hakoho just extra shove, completely unnecessary.
And
I thought Flarik worshipped the ground Hakoho walked on, so I assumed everything Hakoho did, Flarik was about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He is. I've already changed my religion to the Hakoho religion. He is my god. No, it's no. I am as I become an old man, it's everything. Every time, like honestly, Richie is like falling off the side. That's why I believe so much on lowering the dohyo. I visibly cringe and like I just kind of go ugh! Like
the knees,
because
Don't
I
lower
know
the
that I
dojo
can just
for Richie health. Lower it for Flarrick's anxiety.
exactly. If that's the thing you're just kind of waiting for to make this huge change for everything, just have that be it. But no, like I'm an old man when it comes to injuries, and just unnecessary things like that should just be like a late shove. I'm just not all about that. That's just dumb. That's how people get hurt. No, thank you.
And the magnitude of it is also important here. Aoyama sent Shionokuni flying.
Yes.
He very easily could have gotten hurt. He goes not just off the dohyo, but he doesn't even hit the ground for like 2 feet off of the dohyo, and then falls back onto like the edge of the stairs.
Yeah.
Like I was positive that he was hurt until like the camera switched back, and he's just miraculously fine. The way like
I'm okay.
yeah, the way a lot of guys just are somehow made of rubber. But I think that there's varying levels of it, and I think that it's unfair to say that it's a completely black or white issue. Like, yes, you've got to be certain that you win, but you could also be Kaisei, and like as soon as you know that the match is about to end, you can still make sure you win while not being a jackass.
Mm-hmm.
You can.
He's so nice.
Kaisei is definitely on the far opposite end of the spectrum there, where he will potentially like. I mean, I'm worried that he could even put one of his matches at risk in order to like make sure somebody doesn't fall off the dohyo. But he always does his absolute best to make sure that nobody gets hurt. And you may say that makes him less of an intense competitor, and maybe that's part of the reason why he hasn't had a better career. But I feel like not being a jerk to your fellow competitor is also very important.
All right. I feel better. I have people to agree with me, so I'm happy about where we ended up.
I thought we were already in agreement.
Well, the people on Twitter didn't agree with me, and so that upset me. So I needed to come to my safe space to have people reassure me that my views on the world are correct.
We're okay. I'm sorry. So on Twitter, were we saying that like it's 100% warranted or unwarranted or what?
So I just said that if. Like, there's a difference between how Teruno Fuji has been doing Damayoshi versus how Aoyama did Damayoshi. And then some people were just like me. It's like, yeah, absolutely unwarranted. But then others were like, yeah, but Shionokuni was a dick. And it's not really all that different from Teruno Fuji. So I just needed to come to my safe echo chamber. And can't let any evidence or differing viewpoints or new information change my viewpoints. That is frowned upon.
Of course. And there's a difference between arguing on Twitter where you have like one sentence to defend yourself and having the nuance of a 4-hour-long podcast.
Also,
exactly.
And people that I was talking with on Twitter about that, no ill feelings whatsoever. Just want to point that out. I know at Sumo Tim, it was one of the big guys we were talking about that, and he like the next day Teruno Fuji did a Damayoshi against like Shodai or Takayasu, and he's like, what about that? And I was like, no, it's different. That was in the flow of the match. No ill feelings whatsoever. Just want to make that clear. So in
Except
the interest,
for a little bit, Sumo Tim in particular. I mean, Ryan wouldn't remember your name if he didn't have you written on the wall on his grudge list.
Also true.
That's fair, very fair. So watch yourself at Sumo Tim. We coming for you. All right. Typically at this time we run through all of the Yusho winners of the lower divisions. In the interest of Mac having a 10.5 minute long recorded sumo erotica, I'm just going to wrap it up with Mitoryu won Juryo, Hokuseiho won Makushita, Hatooka won Sandanme, Osanai won Jonidan, and Shunrai won Jonokuchi. All right, Jake, what's going on with the GSB belt?
Well, unfortunately, we do have to stall a little bit longer on one of the things you brought up, because Osanai is the current GSB belt holder.
Ooh, all the way up to Jonidan already.
Our belt is taking the Teruno Fuji route up the ranks this time. So it started on day one when Byakuan beat Shonan Zakura, of course, because we always started on the very first match of the Basho in the lowest division, which generally means Shonan Zakura has a GSB title match every time this happens. But it bounced around a little bit in Jonokuchi until here we go. Tanimoto beat Mogami Zakura, transferring the belt up to the next division already before like even the next tournament. So the belt is all the way at Jonidan 52 East and is going to rocket up to Sandanme because Osanai won that Yusho, which guarantees he's going to get bumped up a division.
Yep, 7-0 record. He'll be bumped up. So that's awesome.
In one tournament, we're going to burn through into the third division, and I think that's pretty cool.
That's uncalled for in sumo history. We're setting records here.
Yeah. And let's see. In one tournament last time, we made it up to Jonidan 100. So
wow, we're doing better.
We're doing better this time around.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see how far up Osanai gets, but yeah, it's very interesting contrast to last time. Last comparison here was by this time. Let's see. So the winner of the last match of the first Basho of the first GSB belt. You followed me there.
Yes.
That was Ura, who proceeded to hold on to it for like 3 straight Basho without losing.
All right, so expect big things from Osanai up in Sandanme.
Not how statistics work, but pretty cool that it's rocketing up the ranks so quickly.
Just like how Mitakayumi, once he gets 30 Basho in the junior
shut
Sayaki
right up.
ranks, the odds of him making Ozeki are so much higher.
Okay. All right. Leave the spreadsheet stuff to me, Ryan.
Can do. So let's get to stuff that I am definitively good at, and that is the GSB prediction series, because you're tired of hearing it. Yokozuna Ryan for the 3rd time this year. Mac, say my name.
Ryan.
How dare you?
Yokozuna Ryan.
That's better.
You said say your name. I'm like, well, your name technically is Ryan. But Yokozuna Ryan is what we will call you today.
Your status of best Tsukebito is wavering at best.
I had never wanted it to be permanent.
What do you think about Ryan playing the coin flip game instead of the macro of picking Terano Fuji here, Flair?
Ooh.
Ryan taking the coin flip by taking Hakoho as his champ.
That was, if he didn't, I was going to. So
that's completely fair, but
yeah, you have to risk it to get the biscuit, as Abraham Lincoln once said.
Okay.
Yes, we are all familiar with that legendary
popular proverb of Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I absolutely dominated this series. 35 was my point total. Jake was the runner-up. He had Terano Fuji as his champ. He had 27 points. Actually, it came down to the final day. You just get so many points when you win the show. So my point total seems like it was a runaway, but if Terano Fuji had won that final match, Jake and I would have been tied at this point.
Really? It wouldn't have been enough swing to overtake you?
Nope. I had a 4-point lead, and then you would have gotten 2 points from Terano Fuji winning, and then with the bonus point of him beating another champ, and then a 2-point difference between a Yusho win and a Jun Yusho win.
Gotcha.
So we would have been tied and had some sort of tiebreaker to figure out who the winner would be, which I would have lost because I've lost every tiebreaker.
You have lost every tiebreaker.
You're terrible at playoffs. However, now we may be able to have 2 Yokozuna at the same time.
True.
It's possible.
By all means, I'd still love to kick your ass in a tiebreaker and win. But I'm just saying there are potentially 2 Yokozuna now, so maybe the rules should be adjusted. Be revisited.
Fleric came in 3rd, 22 points. He had Mitakayumi as his champ, but he got the absolutely stunning performance from Koto Ueko as his chump. Just an all-timer performance as a chump for Koto Ueko there. And then, Mac, I'm sorry, man. We willed it into existence that you would lose this. You had 15 points. You had Takakeisho as your initial champ. He pulled out. You substituted in Takayasu, who started good, but then faltered in the second week. And you had Meisei, who ended up with a winning record as your chump. You knew it was coming anyways because you started writing your punishment as soon as we stopped recording the preview.
Pretty much. I was like, yeah, this is going to happen.
So let's get to it. It's the highly anticipated Sumo Erotica as written by Mac. Jake, you're going to be editing this episode, so in the description, put the timestamp here for Sumo Kaboom to skip straight to this point. There you go. Exactly. And anybody else who's only here for the Sumo Erotica, I believe now is the time to take it away, Mac.
Yeah, shout out to Sumo Kaboom, horniest podcast in the business.
A crisp and cool night descended across the streets of Tokyo. A soft breeze drifted lazily in the air, churning the warm scents of roasting meat, cedar, and pine. I can't stop thinking about it, came the thoughts of Enho. Just one more time. Just one more, and then I'll be satisfied. He sat there, looking out the window of the dormitory of the Heya, down into the street below. We're both just so good at it, and it feels so good when we find our rhythm. Just one more time, and I'll be satisfied. Enho? Came a voice from the doorway. Enho turned, startled by the intrusion, his kimono bursting open, revealing his rippled chest. Ishiura stood in the doorway, his hands resting on either side of the door. Muffled laughter and hints of conversation spilled into the room behind him. Enho gazed at him, slowly marshalling his thoughts. Ishiura, his stablemate, his brother of the Mawashi, his senpai. Ishiura gazed down at Enho, his kimono fashioned tightly across his broad shoulders, the cotton straining across chiseled biceps and pectorals. Enho, what are you doing up here? Why aren't you down at the feast? The chanko is nearly ready and the fresh sake is being poured. Senpai, forgive me. I was just thinking. Enho looked down at the tatami.
Uh-oh.
Why did it cut out?
I need to know what happened.
Yeah. Oh, no.
I'm invested now.
Hang on. Let me get the original. Sorry, all you fans.
Oh, God. We're like 20% of the way through this.
Yes, you are. I will fast forward just a moment.
All right, so Fleric, what's your review of Maximo Erotica as we are 1/5 of the way through it? What are your initial thoughts?
I could barely contain myself when I heard the rippling chest of Sumotori.
I was wondering if it was going to be Ishiura or if it was going to be Hakoho. Once I heard rippling chest, I knew that's Ishiura right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That one doesn't really narrow it down.
I was going to say, yeah, it's kind of like ripple chest of one belly.
I was thinking we might get into Hakuho Enho situation, and I was wondering, for my mind just instantly went, "Daddy, should we edit this part out, or should we just let it be?" I mean, nope, we're good as long as
I got it. I got it.
Point that's quality content. Keep it in, Jake.
Okay, let me know if you can hear it.
Down at the tatami mats. Tatami, rice, the smell of sake. He shuddered, his thoughts taking him back to the night in the storeroom. He rubbed his face to hide the sudden rush of color to his cheeks. Ishiura shook his head, his laughter soft and deep. Come on, he said. Join the feast with us. Enho slapped his face and stood abruptly, his sash unknitting as he came erect, his kimono falling open, exposing his bare chest. Exclaimed Enho, quickly grabbing both sides of his robe, jerking it over his body. He stared up at Ishiura, embarrassed. Ishiura was staring upward, a sheepish smile on his face, as he examined a spot on the ceiling. Enho hurriedly retied his sash, tight, the cotton squeaking under the strain. Come on, said Ishiura, before all the chonko is gone. Enho walked slowly to the door, his feet padding gingerly over the mats. He stopped short of the door as Ishiura removed his hands from either side of the frame and turned to leave. Senpai? Ishiura turned to look back curiously. Enho blushed and looked down. Can we do it again? Again? Ishiura blinked and began to chuckle nervously. Enho nodded and looked into Ishiura's eyes, those gorgeous shaped eyes. You're the best at it. Ishiura's hand went to the back of his neck as he looked at Enho. I mean, I'm okay, I think, but are you sure you want me? Enho nodded again, setting his jaw and standing up straight. It has to be you. Just one more time, then we can stop and focus on our sumo. Just one more time. I promise, we can stop after that. Ishiura blushed slightly, but slapped his face and stood up straight, looking back into Enho's eyes. Okay, just one more time, but then we have to stop. Someone might catch us. The feast lasted long into the night. Many guests had arrived and supped on hot chonko, sticky rice, and fine sake. Enho ate sparingly, his thoughts on the events of the night to come. A small smile spread over his lips as he looked down the table at Ishiura. The The sumotori was laughing and toasting a fellow stablemate. His cheeks had the slight flush of intoxication, but it only made those pearly white teeth stand out all the more in his jubilant smile. Yes, thought Enho. It has to be him. He cast his gaze back down to his rice bowl and ate hungrily, his chopsticks clinking and scraping hurriedly against the bowl. Soon, thought Enho. It has to be soon. I need him tonight. The tables were cleared and sumotori lounged on their mats, yawns and weary eyes becoming apparent on all the guests. Slowly, ways were made to sleeping quarters and the heiya shut down for the night. All was dark and still, the halls still faint with the smell of stew and sake, as Enho crept from the dormitory. He made his way past the kitchens, his bare feet padding silently across the floor. He slid open the door to the patio that connected to the storeroom. His pulse quickened. He could feel the goosebumps prickle across his skin as he reached for the door. His fingers curled around the hook, and slowly, very slowly, he opened the door. The musty smell of rice and bales washed over him from the pitch black of the room, but all was silent. Ishiura, he called in the darkness. Are you there? A match was struck from the abyss, and a small candle was set to light. Ishiura stood there, holding the flame. Enho, he said in a relaxed tone. Enho could see the rosiness beginning to fade from Ishiura's cheeks, but could not mistake the smirk for anything else but desire. Ishiura slowly walked around the room, finding several more candles spaced around, illuminating the area in a soft glow. Hurry, come in, shut the door. Someone will see, said Ishiura in a hushed tone. Enho turned sharply after entering the room and closed the door behind him. When he turned back to face Ishiura, he saw that everything had been prepared. When had he had time? Enho thought to himself. Mats and cushions on the floor, blankets, and the windows draped. It's perfect. Ishiura set the candle on the bench and gestured to Enho. Shall we begin? Said Ishiura with a smile. Enho nodded hurriedly and began fumbling with his robes. He wished he hadn't cinched his sash so tight. His fingers could not work their way as deep into the knot. He heard the sound of fabric on the floor and glanced up to see Ishiura, standing there, disrobed in a wash in the warm candlelight. Do you need some help? You always cinch your robe too tight, said Ishiura, taking a step forward, his body now fully illuminated by the candles. Every muscle, every bulge, every feature outlined in a warm glow beset by the darkness. I can do it, said Enho, looking back to his robe. I tied it. I can work it loose. Ishiura chuckled to himself and rested his hands on his hips, shaking his head. After several furtive minutes, Enho loosened his sash and his robe fell to the floor in a heap. They stood there for a moment, sizing each other up. It was time. Enho took his position, his hands grasping a sturdy edge as his knees bent. He steadied himself and looked to Ishiura. He now stood over him, and he could smell the faint hint of sake on his breath. Enho glanced down and saw Ishiura hefting his tool to action. It stood firm and sturdy, but Enho could tell Ishiura would be a tad shaky from the sake. He dipped his hand down into the small pail of liquid, then reached back to Ishiura and slowly guided him. Thump. Ishiura bent his knees, his senses slowly becoming undulled by the effects of the rice wine. Thump. Enho's hands began to do their own work now that Ishiura was finding his own rhythm. Thump. Faster, thought Enho as he dipped his hand back into the pale liquid. You need to go faster. As if sensing his thoughts, Ishiura's pace quickened. Thump. Squish. Thump. Squish. Sweat began to form on Ishiura's brow. Thump. Squish. Thump. Squish. Enho steadied and braced himself, their breathing coming faster. Thump. Squish. Thump. Squish. Yes, thought Enho. Just a little bit more. Almost there. Almost there. The door to the room flew open with a flash. Cool air rushed in, sending a piercing chill down Enho's spine. In terror, he looked back and saw Shohozan. Shohozan had been a guest at the party and had toasted to everyone's success. He strode into the room and closed the door behind him. So, said Shohozan, this is what you were talking about, eh, Ishiura? Enno's heart began to race. Never did he think that Shohozan would want to do this. Ishiura had said in passing that Shohozan was known in certain circles for this, but he did not believe it to be true. Ishira ceased his motions and stared up at Shohozan, huffing. Enho, would you be offended if Shohozan joined us tonight? Enho looked Shohozan up and down, his belly pushing at the strain of his tight robes, his shoulders broad and thick, his neck and traps bulging with muscle, and an unmistakable glimmer in his eye. Yes, said Enho, huskily, as the fear was slowly replaced with desire. He is welcome to join us. Shohozan nodded, and with a quick motion, his robes cascaded to the floor. Shohozan took his position opposite Ishiura and Enho, and hefted his mallet into his rugged hands. As with Ishiura, Enho guided Shohozan to the exact spot he wanted, and the trio began again. Thump, thump, squish. Thump, thump, squish. Thump, thump, squish. The men found their rhythm, Ishiura and Shohozan alternating their thrusts as Enho's hands worked their magic. The room became a furnace. Grunts rumbled from each of them as sweat began to bead and drip from their writhing bodies. Their motions reached a crescendo with one final flurry of thrusts, and all three men collapsed to the ground, panting and exhausted. As Ishiura and Shohozan lay there, holding their hammers in their hands, Enho reached down to taste the fruits of their labor. He clenched it between forefinger and thumb, pulling a portion from the main mass and watching it stretch. Sticky. Good, Enho thought. He placed his fingers in his mouth, scraped the white, stringy mass behind his teeth. His eyes rolled back into his head as the ecstasy of flavor filled his mouth. Sweet and delicious, he thought. I always love making mochi for New Year's.
I knew it. I knew it. Who uses squish? Thump, thump, squish.
Thump, thump, squish.
The title for that was Pounding the Mochi.
See, if I'd had known that from the beginning, if Jake had known that from the beginning, he wouldn't have looked quite as uncomfortable as he did.
And that's why I'm like, no, I'm going to give it away if I just title it in the beginning. I'm like, nope. The title is Pounding the Mochi.
So it was about halfway through that I remembered my nephew, who's about 12 years old, visited me last weekend, and he's like, oh, I want to listen to your podcast. And I told him, hey, you should listen. We got a couple of episodes coming up. If you listen to them, I'll give you a shout out. So, hey, Alex, this is your Uncle Ryan. Don't tell your mom you listen to that.
We put a disclaimer on it.
That solves everything.
I forgot that this was coming, so love you, buddy.
There we go. I take back everything I said about how that was 10 minutes long, because it felt like at least 100 times that.
I was going to say it went by way too fast. Can you play it again? It's getting
I could if you want, Flerick.
Getting a little hot in here.
Yeah, I don't know what I enjoyed more was Jake's very clear uncomfort with the whole situation, or Flerick just getting into it.
I knew
bold, you say.
I knew that it was vague enough for there to be a twist like that, but that did not help.
Oh, my favorite part was when the third joined and you had the thump thump squish.
Yes.
Grasping hammers and whatnot.
Oh, man.
So thank you to a friend of the podcast and also Semi-Sages of the Pages, Molly. That was partially because of you, so thank you.
So we got to add that one as chapter 4, because I think the first one was Sensual Kaisei back hair.
Yep.
Then we had Arawashi and Chiyoshoma
and Shodai.
And Shodai. And then the massive meat sale for Ryan, right?
Yes. Enho starring in 2 of these.
Mm-hmm.
There's a theme on the GSB
there's a theme.
podcast.
He's a horny little boy.
But I did already come up with the title of my next one. It will be Daddy Hakuho.
Oh, God.
Sounds very sensual. Oh, God damn it. All right, what's next?
There's no sensuality when it comes to Hakuho.
No.
All right. What's next is our bold predictions results. And like we said on our preview episode, there is a T-shirt, a GSB T-shirt on the line for whoever is the winner who had the best prediction. And we'll get to it at the end, but it's a little tough to figure out who has the best. So we'll start with some runner-ups. And basically, it's just exclusively the people that thought Hakuho was going to win. Everything else, you didn't get it right. I'm sorry. So Patricia Dobashi, she said, on the eve of Senshuraku, Hakuho and Teru no Fuji are tied. Accurate. But Teru mysteriously begins to limp. There's no mystery behind that. His knees are gone. Doctors check his knees to no avail. Enho remembers an errant toothpick in Asashi Fuji's Ekiben and plucks the splinter from Teru's foot. Grateful, Teru allows Hak to win his last basho. So she got it right. Hakuho, Teru no Fuji tied, and Hakuho winning. Everything else in between is a little suspect, but the vast majority, the main point, she got correct. Huffing. One of my favorite Twitter names, Huffing Tiger Balm, said,
yes.
Teru no Fuji versus Hakuho on day 15 with the rope on the line. Hakuho denies him. So I think that's pretty close to winning it, but I think since Teru no Fuji is probably going to get the rope anyway, just a little short. McKinley Sum, mad as hell, says Hakuho somehow wins it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow, as in like thoroughly dominant from start to finish. Yeah, somehow.
It is Hakuho.
Yeah. Shift Reset said Mac will lose the prediction series. So good job, Shift Reset. And then these are the two that I'm torn. Sandre the Giant said Hakuho Zensho, then retires in his victory speech. He did not retire in his victory speech, but he did get Zensho. And then Felix said Hakuho Zensho Yusho. You heard it here first. But Sandre said Hakuho Zensho before Felix did, so we didn't hear it there first.
Oh, damn.
So I'm a little torn on who we give this to. My first thought was we just put it up to a coin flip, but if you guys had thoughts one way or the other, there is a T-shirt on the line for one of these guys.
Well, the pressure's on now.
Right.
Yeah, I could have warned you prior to recording. I say let's just do a coin flip.
I say coin flip.
Sounds good. All right. Don't get discouraged if you don't get this one, because we're going to be doing this every basho. Please keep it up with the bold predictions.
Absolutely.
And the criteria for winning, as you can tell, are not exactly written in stone.
Correct. Whatever we're feeling at the time. So I have this mechanical pencil in my hand. I don't have a coin on hand. I am going to flip it, and if this end is pointed more towards me, Sandre wins. If the eraser is pointed more towards me, Felix wins. Let's find out.
Heaven forbid anyone else have a coin within arm's reach here.
Right.
Congratulations, Sandre the Giant.
All right.
We will contact you on Twitter to see which GSB t-shirt you would like and what colors. We'll get all that set up and sent over to you. So congratulations, Sandre the Giant, the first winner of a t-shirt from the GSB Bold Prediction Series. All right, let's move on to the GSB Awards as I pick up my mechanical pencil.
I'll do this one. I wrote this one out. The Pancake Award goes to Kageyaki on day 10. We posted a picture of this on Twitter. Kageyaki did not have a great day. They spun around in such a fashion that Kageyaki got his head sat on by Kaisei, which is not where you want to be.
Nope.
Not a great time.
And I wanted to give Ura an award for what happened in this match, but I couldn't think of a good title, so I just called it Nice Little Flip, if I do say so myself, award. It's the one where Ura won a match, and then he did a flip as he was leaving the dojo and landed on his butt, and he just seemed real happy with himself. He had a nice little smile on his face that he's yeah, I won the match, and then I did this cool flip and landed safely on my butt outside the dojo. I thought it was really cool and funny. So I gave him that award. And then match of the basho, obviously this goes to Hakoho versus Toby Zaru on day 7. Oh, no, sorry, reading that wrong. Hakoho, Teru no Fuji, day 15. We've already discussed it.
And we already discussed that.
So let's move on to our remaining Patreon compliments to get everybody that is a Patreon subscriber to us a compliment for the Nagoya Basho.
Is this first one me?
No, it's I.
Is the second one me?
No.
No.
I changed my display settings since the first one, so now I can actually read it.
Glenn Otto. They should model a superhero after you.
Ooh, so it's going to be Glenn Otto versus Octavian Martin, or was it Caroline? Yeah, because Caroline, we said she was going to be a supervillain, and now we've got
badass villain. Yeah,
New comic
Glenn
series.
Otto. Yeah, so Glenn versus Caroline. We want to follow up on that and see how that goes. Screw John Gunning. We're changing the podcast.
Hold on. Say that again so that I can isolate it in post.
Here, let's give it a couple silent. Screw John Gunning. We are changing the podcast to Alex Hearn presents Grand Sumo Breakdown.
All right, Alex.
Anna Tsukahara, if we were on a sinking ship, women and children be damned. We're saving you first. And only you.
Bionic Legs. You're the anime protagonist we've been searching for.
Jen Blackmore. Your swagger is greater than Hakuho's grin.
And if you don't like Casey Mustang, we don't like you.
Oh.
All right.
That's a fact.
Yeah, that's straight up facts right there. All right. Can we just say favorite moment of the Basho was Hakoho versus Terano Fuji and wrap up this podcast?
Hakuho's roar, I think, was my favorite moment.
Yeah.
All right.
That was
Something that's go ahead, Fire.
I was going to say honorable mention is the Toby Zaru / John Gunning special of where it's starting all the way back on the Shikiri-sen. And just, I don't know, maybe changing up the meta. We'll see what happens in the next boss show, whether people do that or not. I would like to see that more. I like people having deliberate strategies. I hope so. That was good to see.
Yeah, and as far as like, yes, I agree. Obviously, like the Hakuho Terano Fuji thing, but on a grander scale, I loved having a storyline. You know, it was cut and dry from the beginning. This is the storyline. This is what we're following, and that was fun. I mean, yes, you want some chaos now and then, but like this one was destiny. It was destined to show up on day 15 the way it was. Sure, it could have gone the other way around, but like the setup felt like destiny the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah, this is why sports are awesome. You know, WWE's like great and all, where they have all these storylines that happen. Everything has like a storyline. Everything's happening. But in sports, you sometimes just have nonsense for a while. It's crazy. But when everything lines up just perfectly, it's just fantastic.
When everything lines up like a WWE storyline, that's when sports are the best. Yeah, that, like Jake said, we knew that this was the outcome from day 5. But like the past 2 or 3 years, both of these guys would have stumbled in the last 5 days and picked up 2 losses, and then like Koto Nawaka would have been in on it in the last day. But we didn't get that. We got what we all wanted. We got a 14-0 Hakoho versus a 14-0 Terano Fuji. That was the best. And my favorite part of it was the stare down before the match when Terano Fuji still had hope.
I think that like by all means, I'd love another couple chaos / parody type basho coming up now and then. But yeah, it's the mix of chaos and destiny. You know, what sometimes you get one, sometimes you get the other. That's part of what makes it so much fun. And it's not just the specific storyline that happened that was so much fun about this basho, but just on a grander scale, the fact that there was one that was such a cool. Everything lined up in such a way that it might as well have been scripted. Obviously, it wasn't, but it couldn't have been scripted much better.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if you enjoyed this podcast, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Once again, Alex, please don't tell your mom you listen to my podcast. Don't tell her what we talk about on here. Just pretend you skipped this one. Catch us on the next one. There'll probably be a lot less innuendo. And if you didn't pick up on the innuendo because you're 12 years old, ignore everything else I said.
Yeah, what was so weird about that? Like
they're just making mochi.
Yeah.
But yeah, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast if you are a thirsty sumo fan who enjoys Enho Ishiura smut.
And Shoho's
on.
Throw in a little thump squish for Shoho's on.
Mm-hmm. All right. Alex, if you do tell your mother, make sure to record a video and share it on social media. You can find us on Grand Sumo Breakdown, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook.
Check out our video podcast on YouTube. Our blog is grandsumobreakdown.wordpress.com. And if you want a cruddy compliment or a segment that you decide, don't forget to check out our Patreon.
If you want more erotica from yours truly, drop us a line or just forget all that. If you want to contact us, drop us a line at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com or give us a call at 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUMO.
No. I like where you're going. If you want more sumo erotica, from
Want more sumo erotica?
Send us a voicemail. Send us an email. Mac is now our official sumo fanfic writer. So whatever you want, Mac will make it happen. And if you want a song written, that'd be Fleric. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, we'll look at the time.
All right. We'll have a couple of bonus episodes coming out for you between this spa show and our Aki preview episode. We got some U.S. sumo content we're going to be dropping, and then something else. I don't remember what we have planned, but it's planned, probably. So find out when I do.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.